Welcome back to our video series on the Pingji romanization for Cantonese. This video's lesson will be about consonants. So in our last lesson, we already introduced several consonants. Here are the first set of consonants we discussed last lesson. These are identical to their typical English sounds with absolutely no exceptions. Our next set of consonants are other easy ones, but with the slight caveat that they have other values, which we'll go over later. The first two are H and S, which make the sounds H and S respectively, just like in English. But we'll see them again as tone letters, which we'll cover in the tone lesson. The next two are Y and W, which make the sounds ya and wa, just like in English. But you'll also see them used in two-letter vowels, which is actually also the case in English, like the words hey and haw. We'll discuss this in depth in the vowel lesson. Next, I just want to take us on a brief detour to talk about voiceless and voiced consonants. As their name suggests, voiced consonants happen when you use your vocal cords to pronounce the sound. So for example, the sound for the English letter Z. If you make the sound and hold your fingers to your throat like what the guy in this picture is doing, you'll feel your vocal cords vibrate. Let's try that now. Place your fingers on your voice box and say Z. Feel that vibration? Now let's do the exact same sound without voice, and you get the S sound. Do you feel anything or hear any voice when you make the S sound? Hopefully not. The way it works in English is that consonants have paired, voice, and voiceless sounds. These are sounds that are pronounced the exact same way, except only differing based on if you use your voice or not. Recognizing that there are lots of paired sounds will make this whole section a lot easier. For these sounds in English, I'll read out the voiceless sounds and then the voiced ones in each pair, and I hope that the pairings will be obvious. S, Z, Fa, Va, Sha, Ja, Pa, Ba, Ta, Da, Ka, Ga, Cha, Ja, Fa, Tha. For Pingji, we've already gone over two sounds in English, represented by the letters S and F. But now I could point out that there is no Z sound and no V sound in Cantonese. Some other notable sounds in English absent in Cantonese are also highlighted in red. For example, sh, ja, cha, ja, th, and the. The remaining voice letters are colored yellow because there are very close sounds in Cantonese that aren't quite pronounced the same. So just to finish discussing sounds missing from Cantonese, there's also no R. This is a sound that's really prevalent in Mandarin, but not Cantonese. So for you Chinese learners, that's a handy tip to tell whether someone's speaking Mandarin or Cantonese. If you hear R, then that's definitely not Cantonese and almost certainly Mandarin. So that's not to say that's the last we've seen of these letters. We'll still make use of them in different forms later. I just wanted to warn you that because these sounds don't exist in Cantonese, don't expect these letters to have their English sounds when we learn about their Pingji sounds. Anyways, back to voiced and voiceless. The next point I wanted to mention is that there are actually no voiced consonants in Cantonese. Instead, Cantonese distinguishes consonants another way, aspirated versus unaspirated. Not trying to bore you here, so let's make this interactive again. Take a piece of paper and hang it loosely in front of your mouth. Now say the word pa. Pa. The P comes out with a puff of air. Can you make the P sound without aspirating? It's a little tricky because in English we usually don't do this. Our letter P is often both voiceless and aspirated. But let's try making it voiced but unaspirated. Pa. Pa. So I've already kind of introduced you to our next letter, which is P. It's exactly as in English. So how would we describe this now? Aspirated and voiceless. In the International Phonetic Alphabet that I'm highlighting on the right, we use the superscript H to show that it's aspirated. What's the counterpart of P in English? B. However, in Cantonese, this is unaspirated but also voiceless. Note how its sound is still represented by the letter P in the International Phonetic Alphabet. So that's the sound I was trying to get you to make. It's not common in English. But ironically, in the word aspirated itself, the P there is not aspirated because it follows the letter S, which is itself unaspirated. Aspirated. Do you hear that? It's not aspirated. You could also try that with the much shorter word spy. Spy. Now, the challenging part for English speakers is to reproduce that sound at the beginning of a word. Here's a tip for that. Another thing you might hear is that when we make the Chinese B sound, just pop your mouth quickly to say it. Ba, ba, ba. But the English B sound, you have to drag it out to make it clear that it's voiced. Ba, ba, ba. You can now pause and practice making the sounds until they click with you. Ba, ba, ba. Not ba, ba, ba. Now you could say the word for father in Cantonese. Ba, ba. Not ba, ba. And here's a similar word for contrast using the letter P instead. Pa, pa, which means afraid. So again, to compare all three sounds, pa, ba, ba. You should be a master at it by now, right? Okay, some final bit of terminology for you, but I think this should also be intuitive. Both the P and B are special consonants called stops. That's because they stop the flow of air before letting it out again. There are a couple more pairs of stops in Cantonese. B and P stand out from the others because they're made at the front of your mouth by closing your lips together. So let's just call them front stops, alright? Well, not only is there a front, but there's a mid and a back. In the middle of your mouth, you make the t and d sounds by pushing your tongue against your hard palate. And in the back of your mouth, you kick the back of your tongue against your soft palate to make the k and g sounds. The neat thing is that these next two pairs work exactly as they did for P and B. Just like P, T, and K are exactly like English, unaspirated T is represented by the letter D. Da, da, not da, da. Unaspirated K is represented by the letter G. Ga, ga, not ga, ga. Feel free to practice these on your own, but it's the same principle as the difference between P and B. One more time, these sounds are pa, ba, ta, da, ka, ga. Now we can add a special group of letters, two of which I've already introduced in the last video. These are the nasals, because the sounds are made through your nose. But otherwise, you might notice that the position of your mouth is the exact same for the corresponding stops. For example, the frontal nasal is also pronounced by putting your lips together just like pa and ba. The only difference is that in pa and ba, air is stopped and doesn't go through the nose. So that's M and N, nothing new. That leaves our last letter, a Q. Now all Q is a shorter way of writing the letters NG. That's because ng is its own separate sound. For example, the English word king. We say king, not king. One major difference between Cantonese and English is that you can actually start a word with this sound, which is why it's important for it to have its own unique letter. Pronouncing ng at the start might be hard for native English speakers though. For example, nga, nga. Feel free to train your mouth to do that. Anyways, one trick to remembering this new assignment for the letter Q is that in English, Q is basically the same as the letter K, right? They both make the k sound. Well, ng also happens to be at the same area of pronunciation in your mouth as k, in the back of your mouth. So hopefully, it's not too much of a stretch to reassociate the letter Q from k to ng. Now going back to the chart of these 9 special related letters, there's one very important note to make. If I wipe out the unaspirated letters, these remaining 6 letters are the only 6 consonants you can end a word with in Cantonese. If you see any other non-vowel ending a word, then that letter is going to be a tone letter, not a consonant. So 3 stops and 3 nasals. It's actually a lot more than Mandarin, which mostly just has n and ng. So if you're new to Chinese, this is actually one of the easiest ways to distinguish if someone's speaking Cantonese or Mandarin, because Cantonese has a lot more ending consonant sounds. There is one big caveat though. When stops are the final consonants, they are not aspirated. So let's hear some examples. I'm gonna make some words with the letters S, E, and then a stop. Set, set, sec. Notice how there's not a hint of aspiration in the final consonants. I don't say sep. This is actually the same phenomenon that happens in English. Like, let's say these English words, step, set. We freeze our mouths the moment we say the last consonant, which is totally unaspirated. K is an exception though. Like if we say sick, that is something we call an adjective. So in Cantonese, you have to say sick. So some of you might be thinking, wouldn't it be more correct to use the letters B, D, and G for the final stops then? Well, you wouldn't be wrong, but the simple answer is, it just looks better. The letters P, T, and K naturally make you want to cut the word short. For example, the English words pup, butt, and buck in English are very short and choppy, but switch the letters to B, D, and G, and that makes you want to drag it out to emphasize the voice sound, like in the words pub, bud, and bug. So those letters P, T, and K just look better to use, even though they aren't strictly aspirated as I told you before. That said, I didn't go on this tangent for nothing. This is also foreshadowing. In Pingji, P, T, and K will transform into B, D, and G, respectively, to represent the sixth tone, which I'll cover in the tone lecture. So what's the point of classifying things as front, mid, back, stops, and nasals? Well, the reason is that some letters change sounds based on where they are. Remember how I told you that the letter I makes the E sound? Well, that was only partly true. Here's the one and only exception. If the ending sound is a back consonant, like a K or Q, then it changes into a short I sound, I, like the English words sick and sing. Other letters, like the letter U, can also change depending on mid or back consonants. So we'll get to that in the vowel lesson though. The next couple of letters are KW and GW. They're pretty self-explanatory. The KW is kwa, like in the word quick. The GW is the unaspirated form, gua, like in the word squid. Now we've reached our final two consonants, and these are the only two that are totally different from English. To understand how to make the sounds of our next letter, C, we need to take a detour and understand how we make the English sound represented by the letters CH, ch. The sound ch is actually a combination of two sounds, t and sh. You can see that in the International Phonetic Alphabet below, its symbol is a T and a squiggly S. The squiggly S being the symbol for sh. Pronounce these two separate sounds closer and closer until they blend into a single sound to make ch. Tsha, tsha, ch. But remember how I said Cantonese has no sh sound? So what if it was T and S instead? Tsa, tsa, ta. Hear that? Ta. Also, one thing to clarify, just like our previous letters, this needs to be aspirated, which was already what I was doing anyways. So that's our first new letter, C, the T sound. A lot of resources describe it as a TS sound, but I don't think that description alone works. It's not like the TS in the word rats, or even like the TS that's common in Japanese, like tsunami, because unlike those, it's a single aspirated sound, ta. Hopefully you see the difference with the English CH sound, ta versus cha. Now of course, because it's an aspirated consonant, it has to have an unaspirated counterpart, for which we use the letter Z. Warning, this has nothing to do with the English Z. Anyways, if we unaspirate the ta, we get da. Again, that's da. In the end, they're kind of close to the English CH and J sounds, but not quite. By the way, if you know Pinyin, then these letters are the exact same as the ones in Pinyin. So here are some famous Chinese historical figures. Cao Cao from the famous Three Kingdoms, and Chairman Mao Zedong. They're good examples to practice the sounds because we use these names in English too. Please note that I'm not going to use Mandarin tones to say these since I'm speaking English here, so don't accuse me of butchering them. Cao Cao. Again, Cao Cao. and 自动, 这. By the way, speaking of these historical figures, you might have seen some older spellings, especially in older books before the days of Pinyin. They used an older romanization for Mandarin that marked aspirated letters with apostrophes. So instead of using T versus D, you have T apostrophe versus T. Hopefully you now understand why they used the apostrophes like that back in the day. That said, I do like the way Pinyin did it better because in the old system, the letters B, D, and G were just not used. What a waste, right? And thanks to Pinyin, we can use a single letter C to write something that was previously written with a T, S, and an apostrophe. That was a hugely inefficient use of the alphabet, both in terms of how many characters it takes to write each word, and in terms of making the best use of our inventory of Latin letters. So I consider Pinyin's approach to aspirated sounds as a big win, and in this case, an inspiration for Pingji. So that's all the consonants. Let's wrap it up by doing some exercises. How would you pronounce these words? I'll give you a few seconds to pause and try it out yourself. Alright? These are P, B, Dik, Dim, Te. Again, those are P, B, Dik, Dim, Te. Here's the next batch. Again, I'll let you pause. Alright, these are Ging, Sim, Ye, Yi, Di. Again, notice how the first one is a short I, Ging. The rest are all long I's, Sim, Ye, Yi, Di. Finally, how do you spell these next 5 words? Get ready to write them down or spell them out loud. The words are Ting, Lang, Deep, Ti, Sek, Te. Again, Ting, Lang, Deep, Ti, Sek, Te. I'll give you a few seconds to rewind and spell them out. And these are the answers. One more time, these words were Ting, Lang, Deep, Ti, Sek, Te. That brings us to the end of this video. Practice those letters if you need to, but otherwise we'll see you in the next video where we'll go over the first lesson on vowels.